Meanwhile, the Albanese government is preparing to crack down on artificial intelligence to combat concerns technology could, as we just saw, lead to human extinction and damaging disinformation. Joining us live now from Canberra, Minister for Industry and Science, Ed Husic. Minister, good to see you. Thanks for your time this morning. So, how are you going to protect us from Skynet?
I was waiting for the Sarah Connor reference. Look, I think people do recognise that AI has been around and we've been using it for quite some time in ways that we do or may not even know, and they get that there are benefits there. But I think the recent developments have made people think, is the technology getting ahead of itself?
Yeah.
We already have, probably a dozen different laws that would touch on the impact of AI and regulating it. But we've got to modernise it and make sure it's fit for purpose. That's why we've launched the discussion paper around the future regulation of AI. We want to be able to give people the confidence and the assurance that the technology is working for us and not the other way around.
Right. So what are you going to do? I mean, and also, how do you regulate technology that changes so fast?
And again, that is one of the big challenges about the way you shape up laws when you see some of the developments in technology. But some of the stuff that we've seen, particularly in the last 6 months, we've wanted to really, as a government, be able to move rapidly in having a look at the laws and updating them. We've got this discussion paper that'll be out for the next 8 weeks, but it won't just be this effort. You'll see across the Albanese government a number of different portfolios looking at the impact of technology and how we respond and making sure that happens. Some of it, where it presents a high risk, we will need to step in, I think, and regulate strongly to, again, give people confidence, assurance that technology is being used in the way it should be.
Yeah, I mean, I joked about it earlier, but if it's not controlled or if it's not regulated, what is the worst case scenario? I mean, are you going to these claims of extinction?
I've watched technology, Pete, for many years, well before my time in politics, and had an interest in it. I've never been one to be a total evangelist for it and can see no ill, and I've never been catastrophising about it. We've got to get the balance right and ensure that we get the benefit. I mean, AI does play an important role. I mean, we saw that through the pandemic where it was applied to help us develop vaccines in record time. When you think about how medicines have been developed in years past, using that in a way that people give the tick is really important. But where you've got automated decision making using AI and where it does have an impact on people, most recently, if you look at what happened with robo-debt, we've got to clamp down on that, and we've got to have our laws fit for purpose to deal with those type of risks.
Yeah, and I get all the upsides, and a lot of it is exciting, and the industry itself very exciting. But one part that worries me, and a lot of people, ChatGPT, it's going to feed into all kinds of disinformation. I've fallen for it hundreds of times already this year. So, I mean, you can't just ban it, can you? I mean, are there upsides here? Is the horse bolted? What do you do with ChatGPT?
I guess I'd answer your question a number of ways. One is you've got to think about the way that AI is developed, because it isn't just stuff that happens on its own. It's set up by people to act in particular ways. So it's development and then its use. That's where the law does need to think about that. And the type of things that you mentioned around, for example, deep fakes and misinformation. Yeah. And I heard Senator Patterson earlier, and he's absolutely right. And I want us to work across the parliament on these things. But people have to have the confidence that what they're seeing on their screens is legit, and that decisions, particularly around public policy, are done in the right way, off the right basis. People get the entertainment value, and if they know it and it's up front, that's one thing. But where it's a deep fake that guides or may influence improperly decision-making, really important. And that's why we've got the Safety Commissioner and Minister for Communications, Michelle Rowland, looking at these things as well from an online safety perspective. So again, we're not just one path will deal with this. It'll be across government that you see us working, and over the coming weeks, you'll see some actions being taken.
Ed, just a change of pace here before we go. Just want to get your thoughts on Philip Lowe's comments yesterday. Ruffled a few feathers when he said that young folks should effectively stay at home for longer to help with the housing crisis. So that's not new. That's been happening for some time. But I mean, is that a sad state of affairs, that that's one of the only options that we've got moving forward during this housing affordability crisis?
Well, I wouldn't want us to be getting up in arms about some comments. You're absolutely right. For years, we've seen younger people delay leaving home because of, and this has happened probably over the best part of the decade, deferring their decision to leave home because of those type of issues. We want to deal with that. We want to provide increased supply, and as a new government, we've been looking at different ways to do that, either through the Housing Australia Future Fund, the build to rent initiatives we announced in the budget to increase supply and make it easier for people to get their own home, because housing is one of those basic things that gives the greatest level of comfort, and we've got to make sure that we do that. And we would welcome for the people in politics that say they're concerned about this, we definitely welcome their support in the Parliament to get the Housing Australia Future Fund through and some of the other things that we're planning as a government.
And just quickly here, and it's just a final one on the Fair Work Commission tomorrow. I mean, Warren Hogan suggested last hour that if the Fair Work Commission goes too high tomorrow, i.e. above 5% increase to the minimum wage, that could lead to 4, even 5 more rate rises down the track. How concerning is that, if true?
Again, I'd be careful. People will make all sorts of predictions. The Fair Work Commission is independent. It weighs up all the evidence and it makes its call based on what it reckons is right. And it also obviously takes into account actions of others like the RBA. So let's just wait and see the outcome. But we have been focused as a government on making sure that people are getting a better outcome on wages to help deal with their cost of living.
Are you going to line to John Connor, Ed?
No, I've got none, mate. Sorry.
If John Connor is not going to save us, Ed Husic is going to. Ed, appreciate your time as always. We'll talk to you soon.